Salut French students, bienvenue au vidéo 5 du chapitre 5, video 5 of chapter 5. And I think this is kind of a fun topic that we'll be looking at this time, which is le temps. Le temps just means literally time, but it also means weather. And I think they kind of are related to each other in some way because our time is really determined by what's happening outside with the weather. It kind of influences all of our activities, what we decide to do each day, and even how we feel each day. And so the first question that we see up here at the top is Quel temps fait-il aujourd'hui? Oh, let's break that down word by word. Quel is which. Okay. Temps, weather, so which weather. Il fait, or in the inverted order for a question, because you can make a question by flipping the subject and verb sometimes. Okay, fait-il or il fait means does it make or does it do. Aujourd'hui, of course, is today. So this question is asking us, what weather is it making today? So what's the weather like today, in other words? Okay, we have 6 different pictures there of different types of weather. And you'll notice that in French, to express the weather, we use the verb faire. Faire means to make or to do. Okay, in English, we would not use the verb to make or to do to talk about weather. We usually would use the verb to be, right? Like it is sunny, it is cold, it is windy, any of the above. But we use is to describe the weather, a form of the verb to be. But in French, we're going to be using faire. So notice that in this first one, it says il fait froid. And you can easily guess by the picture what kind of weather we're talking about. It's cold outside. And so fait, il fait kind of sounds like it makes cold. So the weather outside is producing that feeling. Il fait froid. Okay, the next picture we see here is il fait frais. And what do you think this might mean? If you look at the weather and the season that's in that picture, it looks like fall, like autumn, right? So frais is the French word for fresh. So it's like kind of fresh and cool outside. Of course, if the sun is shining and you're about to collapse like this guy is right here from heat stroke, maybe you can say il fait chaud. And the D is silent in this word, so il fait chaud. Hey, if the weather is really beautiful, the sun is shining, there's blue sky, we can then say il fait beau. Beau means like beautiful or handsome, depending on what that adjective is describing. In this case, it's just showing that the weather is beautiful. Et il fait mauvais. Mauvais is bad, and we can easily tell that by the driving rain in that picture. And then finally, il fait soleil or il fait du soleil. The du is kind of like some. That's an example of what we call the partitive, which means it's like makes some sun, not the entire sun. I guess if it was extremely sunny, you could leave out du, but I've heard it more often expressed with du. Il fait du soleil. Okay, so it's really sunny. All right, so I'm going to give you a chance to answer that question up at the top here. You can choose any one of these weather expressions. What was the weather like today, for example? Whichever one appeals to you. So I will ask you, quel temps fait-il aujourd'hui? All right, we'll move on to looking at the same thing in this next group of pictures. So again, quel temps fait-il aujourd'hui? And there are other options here. We can say il fait du vent or il y a du vent. So il fait du vent is like the other weather expressions. Il y a du vent just means that there is some wind. It's just another way of saying it. Et il pleut means it's raining. And il neige. So these are a little bit different from the other ones that used faire to make that expression. Okay, pleuvoir is the verb that goes with pleu. Oh, let me just pop that in here. So that is the verb that we get that conjugated form pleu from, il pleut. Okay, neige would come from neiger. So il neige. So the il is like it. It is raining. Il neige. It is snowing. Okay, so again, you can choose one of these. I know these weather situations might not apply to the moment that you're answering this question, but just pick the one that works best for you. Quel temps fait-il aujourd'hui? All right. And then we can kind of relate the weather to projects, les projets. So what do you like to do in different kinds of weather? And we can start with this question. Quelle saison préférez-vous? So which season do you prefer? So vous préférez is you prefer, but we can invert it, change the word order, préférez-vous, and it becomes a question. But you could really even say it the other way too. You could say quelle saison vous préférez, and it's also fine. Qu'est-ce que vous faites pendant cette saison? So what do you do during that season? Qu'est-ce que is like one big long way of saying what. So que is what, est-ce que turns anything into a question, and all that together becomes basically what, the question word what. Vous faites, what are you doing, pendant, during that season, cette saison. Est-ce que vos projets dépendent du temps qu'il fait? So do your projects, do your activities depend on the weather outside? Okay, so one response can be j'adore l'été. Oh, I love the summer. I think most of us would probably agree with that. So en été, so when we're talking about being in a season, we use the preposition en. En été, je vais à la plage, je fais du bateau et du ski nautique. So je vais à la plage, I go to the beach. You probably remember that from earlier in the semester. Je fais du bateau, et I go boating. Et du ski nautique, or water skiing. So those might all be great activities to do in the summer. Et j'aime l'automne. Oh, this looks like autumn in English. I like autumn, en automne, and notice that the M is silent there. We're just pronouncing the S. Je fais du camping. Oh, I go camping. Je fais du VTT. VTT is like, what do you call those bikes? Like those kind of bikes you ride on all terrain, I guess. So those are different activities that we can do in the summer and also in the fall or in the autumn. So I can ask you that question. So you can choose either summer or autumn in this case. You've got to pick between these two. And I can ask you, quelle saison préférez-vous? Okay, and we can do the same thing with the two remaining seasons. Okay, I can say j'aime beaucoup l'hiver, and notice that this time we've added in an adverb here, beaucoup, a lot. Oh, I really like winter. J'aime beaucoup l'hiver. En hiver, je vais à la montagne, so I go to the mountains. Je fais du ski, I go skiing. So je vais is literally I go to the mountains. When I'm talking about doing a sport, though, I'm using faire. Je fais du ski. And I can also say j'adore le printemps. Et printemps. Oh, there are two nasal vowels in that word. Prin and temps. So that one might require a little bit of practice. Hey, au printemps. So this one is a different one from the other seasons. You say en été, en automne, en hiver, but au printemps. And there are exceptions in every language, right? Okay, so you could say au printemps, je vais au parc, je fais des randonnées. So I go to the park and I also go hiking. Randonnée is to go hiking. Okay, so again, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked you in the previous slide. Okay, quelle saison préférez-vous? All right, so that is it for today's presentation on le temps and les projets, the different projects or activities you do in different seasons. So now when you have a conversation in French, you can talk about the seasons, you can talk about what you like to do in those seasons, and I think that is a topic that everybody can talk about pretty easily. So see you next time for video 6. À la prochaine!